Howdy folks, I'm Tom Vasel and welcome to the Dice Tower. This is Look Back. This is a series where I go back 1, 5, and 10 years ago. I tell you about the games that I was reviewing and playing then and tell you what I'm thinking about or if I'm playing them now, if my rating has changed. Maybe it's the same, it's often the same, but you never know. Let's take a look. So we're going to start with a year ago. So first of all, we have Pessoa. This is a game based on a very famous poet from Portugal. And I know this because the comments in my video were like, how dare I say anything negative about this poet? I'm sure the poet's fine, but the game itself was just also fine. It's a game about you're one of the personalities of Pessoa and you get to do, you're controlling different aspects and jumping in and out with workers. And it's about collecting cards and stuff. And it's fine. I just didn't. The idea of the game's interesting. The theme of the game's interesting, but the gameplay itself was just okay. 6 out of 10. Battle bosses, big giant monsters that you're rolling dice and attacking each other. There's a lot of errors and things in it, but if you just want a fun thing where you're attacking somebody else, it's fine. 6 out of 10. Now or Never. Oh man, I was so pumped. Anticipated game for me from Ryan Lockett. I love the Near and Far game, and I was excited about this one. It's just a little too long and a little too where do I put my pieces on the board type situation. There's a lot of aspects I like. I like the combat system, but ultimately I just didn't find it to be amazing. Another 6 out of 10. City Chase. This is a little deduction game, mostly for kids as you're trying to figure out, you're flying these helicopters around trying to figure out where the getaway car is. Very entertaining little game. 7 out of 10. And then Welcome to the Moon. Welcome to the Moon in the Welcome to series. I think this is by far the best one. There's like a whole campaign thing in the game. I don't care about that. It's essentially, I think, 8 different games, roll and write style games that are all very, very good. That's 8.5. All right, 5 years ago, I reviewed Import Export, which is very much trying to bring back the glory days of, well, Glory to Rome. Import Export is very similar to the point where I'm pretty much the wholesale. We're trying to make a newer version of it. It's fine. There's a lot of wonkiness to it. I love the theming of it with the containers and all, but at the end of the day, it's not a game for me. 6 out of 10. Hexcalibur. This is a game about placing hexes down and then you kind of controlling areas. It's good, but it's faded a bit for me to the point where honestly I forgot about it till I looked at this. I did this thing here, so I changed it from a 7 to a 6. Dream On. This is a game and you cooperatively are remembering a dream together. I'm not a huge fan of storytelling games, but this one works well. It's also pretty funny. 7 out of 10. Petrichor, The Smell of Rain. A neat area control game with a really cool theme. 7 out of 10. Shaky Manor, which I think at the time was called Panic Mansion. This is a game where it's like a kid's game and you're just trying to move and get these different items from one room to another room. Like those old ball mazes, but much more involved. A fun game, 7 out of 10. Stuffed Fables, amazing kids game with a story, but I dropped it from a 9 to an 8. Still a very good game. It just had a lot of other storytelling games that come that are not as... The biggest flaw with Stuffed Fables is it's kind of a hard game for kids, and there's other ones I think that do a little bit better job storytelling and are easier, but it's still a great game, still in the Dice Tower library. Anachrony. Dropped this one a bit from a 9 to an 8.5, but I still really enjoy this worker placement style game. A lot going involved, big, giant involved game. This is probably my favorite game from Mind Clash. I shouldn't say probably. It is my favorite game from Mind Clash. A really neat, but very, very big worker placement game. Lords of Hellas. Still really enjoying this one. Looking forward to Lords of Ragnarok, the sequel, but just this is the epitome of a dudes on a map where you have all these cyber Greek things, and you can go off and fight monsters. You can go on quests. You're also doing an area control with battles and trying to control all sorts of things, finding cool weapons. And it's just it's a big game, but it's a fun one. 9 out of 10. 10 years ago, I reviewed Shadow Era. It gets one of my very, very few ones. Terrible game. The rules were printed on the back of the board, which is insanity. The game is, as at the time, I didn't know that I knew it was based on Shadow Era, game you could play online. I didn't realize that game was a blatant ripoff of Hearthstone, or, well, the game that Hearthstone's based on anyway. Yeah, man, I hate this one, and I think it's terrible. Was boring as all get out. But the comments are amusing, and people, the fans of Shadow Arrow, were not, especially if you go to the Shadow Arrow boards, had some interesting comments there. Catan Histories, Merchants of Europe. They just kind of remade this one a little bit. This is Catan with a board, and you're moving, and it's big. It's a bigger, giant version of Catan as you move out. That's okay, but it's a little long. I think Catan's better when it's short, so I give this one a 6 out of 10. Gingopolis. This one just got reprinted, and I know that Steph Hodge and many others love this engine building game. I think there's some neat concepts there. Very themeless game, and I find it to be fine, a 6 out of 10. But keep in mind, there's people out there who love it. Fleet. This is not Fleet the dice game, which got much bigger praise than Fleet, but I liked Fleet. I thought Fleet was a fun game as you're going out, card game, fishing and getting different fish. Nice name, 7 out of 10. And Fantastica. This is a game, man, I haven't thought about this one in a while, but it's a really charming deck building game. Very family oriented, where you're going off and you kind of get drawn into a wizard world from our modern, like a Victorian style world, but your toothbrush is your wand, stuff like that. The theme doesn't have a ton to do with the game, but it's a nice little cool deck building game, 8 out of 10. So, those are the games that are reviewed 1, 5, and 10 years ago. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been Look Back on the Dice Tower.